Sometimes for guys dropping like flies for other teams, you get a receiver that could be that receiver one, so there could be value there. Talking about later round guys to take the flyers on or sleepers maybe, who are some guys that are looking for those late rounds? Are you aiming to get depth? Are you aiming for the upside? We talked about a lot in the show. What kind of targets are you aiming later on in your best ball drafts? We're going to kick it off. Start off with you, Chase.
All right. Well, by the time you're in the late rounds, yeah, you're taking complete lottery tickets, but you want to make sure that those lottery tickets have a path to relevancy and a path to not just relevancy, but in nice, good, high octane offenses that are going to cook. Okay. So I'm willing at that point to take a shot on a guy that I've been high on and I continue to be high on, even though he didn't have a real great year last year. Will Shipley, the backup right now for the Philadelphia Eagles to Saquon Barkley. We know this is a run-heavy offense, and we know that that whoever is the second back in that offense can still have some value. Kenneth Gainwell's gone. I don't think that A.J. Dillon poses any real threat to Will Shipley in terms of a running back, standing behind Saquon Barkley. I think, I talked about it when he was drafted. I think his skill set is really Austin Eckler-like, which I like the idea for a spike week out of that. If Saquon goes down, gets hurt, and he has to step up to the plate, I think that there's potential there for the same kind of spike weeks that we have seen out of other, backups that get the lead job. So that's one that I like. And he's going at 199th as running back 66. So he's going very, very late. There's only in an 18 round 12-team draft, there's only 216 players going. He's going at 199. That's the kind of thing that I'd like to take a shot on.
All right. Adam, what kind of player?
Even if, and maybe even especially if I don't have Saquon as my starter, because now I've added a starting running back if Saquon does go down.
Adam, who are you targeting in those later rounds to add to your best ball team?
It's my turn to talk about Kyle Williams this week. He's someone who I definitely think fits the mold as a guy that I'd like to target late in best ball drafts, as someone who it could absolutely take a good chunk out of the receiver workload in New England. Look, I mean, we've already seen things aren't looking great with Stephon Diggs. Yeah, exactly. I was figuring out how I was going to word that one. But look, we'll see what happens with Stephon Diggs, also coming off the injury, also aging. Wasn't quite his dominant self the last little bit that we've seen him, including the last half of his last season in Buffalo. And I like Pop Douglas, but the rest of these guys are guys in New England. So Kyle Williams certainly enters a situation where he can make a name for himself. And late in this draft, I mean, I'm really optimistic about Drake May. And I'm optimistic about Kyle Williams. So having them together, I think, is a really, really good combination. I mean, we've all talked about it at various points this offseason about loving this kid and loving the opportunity for him. And I think this is another situation, kind of exactly what I was talking about, where your rookie drafts and your best balls kind of merged once you get towards the end. This is that example where he is the perfect third-round pick in your dynasty drafts, rookie drafts, and he is the perfect cap to your wide receiver core at the end of a best ball.
I like it. Dan.
Yeah, so remember when you're doing best ball leagues, you're drafting 20 to 22 rounds here. And what I'm completely shocked by, especially given the history here, especially given all the hype of this team, going into the offseason, Roschon Johnson's getting drafted in the 17th round at the moment. How is that even possible? The guy is right now a bare minimum, a premium handcuff to DeAndre Swift, who has an injury history we know is light, right? And also, when you added the history with Ben Johnson, remember, Swift got run out of town Ben Johnson's first year as the play caller for the Lions. He was still effective, by the way, during that stretch, but he was run out of town the following season. What Ben Johnson likes to do, he likes to have his thunder and lightning, right? He's proven that with David Montgomery. Before David Montgomery was Jamal Williams. He wants that thunder. He wants that guy he's going to lean on in that particular role inside the 5-yard line on early down, short yardage, and grind them and use, the Swift type, the Jahmyr Gibbs type as his lightning bag to play off of that. And he's going to give the backfield plenty of touches. I think people don't realize that he doesn't run a ton of 3 receiver sets. Ben Johnson actually favors having, 12 personnel or fullback in the backfield. Like, that's what he favors to do. And it sets up the running backs really well. Roschon is already an efficient scorer. He had a 10.9% touchdown rate last season. We already know he can fill that role. And he also had a team high 40.9% of carries inside the 5-yard line as well. It's easy to see him at the very least, become Jamal Williams, bare minimum. Maybe he doesn't score 18 touchdowns. Maybe Chicago's not quite the high prolific offense Detroit was Ben Johnson's year that year. But they're going to be better than they were last season. I can guarantee you that. He's going to get those carries over DeAndre Swift. And what happens if they decide, you know what, Swift, I still don't like you because I don't like you. You don't finish runs enough. What if Roschon Johnson takes a step up because it's a different blocking scheme that Roschon actually favors in? Like, I still think this guy has some talent. Remember, he was a quarterback later in his career, converted to running back. It takes a little more time. The fact that he's going 17th round, I see nothing but upside at that position.
I do love the interior of that Chicago line. All right, real last one. One of the positions you guys gave really early was tight end. Each of you, give me somebody, maybe it's a middle round or late round tight end. If you're not getting that tight end early, who is a tight end maybe you're targeting in that mid or late round? I'm going to go to you first, Chase.
Zach Ertz. I like Zach Ertz still in Washington. He's going 167 overall as tight end 20. So you're taking him as a low end tight end. 2, you're taking him essentially hoping he's your backup. But he is a favorite target there. They like him. Yes, I know that, Terry McLaurin caught a ton of touchdowns last season. I don't know that necessarily repeats itself. I like the idea of Ertz in this offense. They still like him there. I still don't see any real competition for the role that they use him in, for the role that Kingsbury likes to use him in. I don't see any competition there, including Ben Sinnott. I like Zach Ertz there as a late round flyer. When you can get him that late in a draft, go for it.
And a chance that Terry McLaurin might be out, that contract. Who knows what happens with that moving forward?